group of companies. We've been seeing so many innovations in products and materials and business models. But if we're not scaling this, if we're not really getting to scale, we're kind of talking to ourselves. So how does that happen? I'm very proud to have two leaders who are showing the way here. At the far end, Javier Quiñones, the both CEO and Chief Sustainability Officer at IKEA US, and Esther Speck, the Senior Vice President for Global Sustainable Business and Impact at the apparel footwear company Lululemon. I want to get into start with the what, but I really want to get into the how. But both of your companies have made significant, ambitious, maybe even audacious commitments. So let's start with you, Esther. Talk a little bit about what Lululemon has committed to in circularity.
Sure, Joel. So we made a commitment in 2020. We made what for us was a transformative commitment to achieve that all 100% of our products would have preferred materials content and end-of-use solutions toward circular ecosystems by 2030. So we gave ourselves a 10-year time frame, knowing that it was going to take a lot of transformation, sort of internally and externally, to be able to get there. And the approach we take around it is a comprehensive approach. So we're looking at interconnected programs and work streams across extending life, so extending product life, for example, resale, trade-in, repair, around materials innovation, particularly focused on textile-to-textile innovation and recycling, but there's more to the context there. And then also sort of looking upstream at design, so educating, engaging, and working with our designers so that we're thinking about end-of-life.
So preferred materials, give us a short definition of what does that mean for Lululemon?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question. We use the same definition that the Textile Exchange uses. So for anyone sort of in apparel, it's important to us to have a shared definition. What it means explicitly as it translates to our materials is we look at materials with recycled content that, so the intent is that the impact, the environmental and social impact, is below what would be that of a conventional material. So recycled content, renewable content, and in future regenerative content as well, in a way that can be certified.
So Javi, I want to get to the commitments that IKEA's made, but first I think a lot of people are wondering, the CEO, CSO, how does that, for US, how does that work? I'm guessing that you have less problems than many people getting CEO buy-in. So how did that come about, and how do you manage the two?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think the buy-in is done, right? When you have both roles. You know, I think this shows the commitment that we have with what we do, and more especially how we do it. Many years ago, I think sustainability has been in IKEA's agenda. I remember I started 99, and I did my first sustainability training back then, right? So it's a long story with IKEA and sustainability. So this is also part of showing sustainability is not going to be a side part of the business. It's not going to be an area that will put an action plan or a strategic document in place and then convince the management. I'm not saying this is the case for every company, right? But I think it's been the case to start, at least in many ways. So we see it intimately related to the decision taking, and I think this is probably the best way we found out. If we're going to take decisions, they need to be filtered through our intention for society here, right?
So IKEA made a commitment to be circular by 2030.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, it means not too far, right? What it means is that all our products are going to be made from recycled or renewable material, right? And that's a commitment. We put it under our strategic document. It's public, it's out there. And, you know, for many years, we have been doing it and not talking too much about it. And we decided if we want to be an active member in the change, then we need to talk. So the document, it's out there, and it explains our strategic approach. It's called People and Planet Positive, and it is in our web to be seen. But this is mainly what it means. In some areas like wood, we have already been there. 99.5% of our wood comes from FSC or recycled material already today. But this will apply to any single IKEA product.
Oh. So let's get a little bit into the how. What does it take to do this? I'm guessing for both of you, there's a lot of collaboration, both internal and external. Let's start with internal, Esther. As I like to say, there is no I in circularity. How do you, who's at the table or needs to be at the table at Lululemon to make this happen?
That's a great question. It's, and I think about, we talk about circular ecosystems externally and all of these different partnerships, and in so many ways, this parallels how we approach this internally, and particularly as we have programs that stream across take back, materials innovation, retail. They really come together in ways where we need to communicate and share information in a way that we never really have before. Like, it is truly beyond silos. So folks at the table range from raw materials, materials innovation, to people focus more on sustainability, to retail, to logistics, to legal, to strategy, as we look at what some of these different innovation partnerships are, and product design.
So talk a little bit about which of those has been the hardest to get buy-in from?
Oh, that is an excellent question. Well, I think what I want to say is I love this CEO-CSO combination. It's so great. It has been really important for us as we were setting our goals and ambitions to set those goals and ambitions together. So it was important that with CEO, with executives sort of across the board, that we have a shared understanding and a shared sense of that work. And so I think what I would say is it's less about getting buy-in from individuals, but around the complexity of what it means to translate that into their operations. So it's often easier when something can be pulled out and you can really focus on a part of the work stream versus, when it takes a lot of collaboration sort of initially from a startup perspective. But I think it really comes down to volume of operational obligations that are required, which makes it sort of more difficult to really carve off the time to be able to do that work. And the focus that we take is starting with pilots, but that in and of itself takes big transformation and big investment so we can get the level of learning that we need to be able to scale.
And you have a fairly short time window, both of you, on this, and so pilots need to sort of happen and kind of, move quickly on these things. Are you able to do that, to move quickly, not just in the production side, but also the marketing and the sales piece?
Yeah. It's a really good question, and I think pilots, it's situational. It depends a little bit on what element that we're working on. So for example, Like New is Lululemon's resale and trade-in program in the US. And so there was a pilot for 1 year and then a scale across the US in the next year. And it was an intense and focused level of work that was spearheaded by our sort of head of retail and our head of innovation, focusing on retail with collaboration sort of from us to be able to really align and bring the business together to be able to deliver on that. So I would say it's sort of a year to pull together, pilot, learn, and expand. Yeah. From a sustainable materials innovation pilot, I think an interesting partnership from a textile-to-textile perspective is Samsara. So this is a partnership we engaged in. I mean, it was very fast. It was a year ago. We engaged in a multi-year partnership and made a minority equity investment. Samsara is an Australia-based environmental tech company, and they recycle complex plastics using an enzyme-based technology. Now, for Lululemon, this was really important because a core material that we use is nylon 6 and nylon 6/6. And to date, there have not been textile-to-textile recycling solutions for this work. So this was a very strategic and an important relationship. And it was, I have some colleagues here who actually worked on this, and they'll say that this happened so fast, was to go from that engagement to actually pilot a prototype made, and the first prototype made from enzymatically recycled nylon 6/6 into an actual product, and that was over sort of less than a year, and there was a lot of challenge and innovation and desire from our executives throughout the organization, and a lot of passion for that work as well. So that was fast, and then to really look now at what does the next level of scale look like from a feedstock perspective will continue to take more time. So it really depends on the circumstance.
Yeah. So, Javier, let's talk about it. First of all, the commitment, the circular commitment that IKEA's made, that's global, right? Or is that just U.S.?
It is global.
It's global. So, how, and you're running the U.S. piece. Talk a little bit about how the internal collaboration that's needed and how that works in the U.S. For a global enterprise like IKEA.
Mm. Well, you know, I think it's, we said at the beginning, the buy-in, right? I think you need to make it who you are, not what you do, right? And I think when you get to that point, everything flows, right? We are, in IKEA, we are, of course, a big company, right? And we are all united by our vision, create a better everyday life for the many people, right? So it goes beyond selling furniture or our business idea of well-designed, functional, good quality products, right? So we are all united by that. We measure also how we do it through value creation goals. So it's not that we are looking at the end of the year, how did we do with top line and revenue, but how did we do to society, how did we do for people, how did we do for customers, and how did we do for the planet, right? So these unite us around, I don't want to sound boring here, but unite us on the more governance, probably more formal side, right? And I think this is super important because it's not about buying in, it's really about who we are as a company and what is our mission. Not many people know IKEA is owned by a foundation, right? And our founder gave IKEA to the foundation many years ago. And part of our profit actually goes to mainly to provide a better future for children on climate change and on poverty. This is why we exist in IKEA, right? So that's a big part. Internally, then we have clear goals that says 2030 we're going to be circular, right? And there's no other way we're going to deliver because that's a commitment for the whole company. We own the value chain, so it's a little bit probably easier from that perspective with all the complexity. Don't understand me wrong. So that's one. I think the complexity comes more on the external part, right? Because internally we can more or less decide, look, this is going to happen, this is how we measure success, and our goals follow on that aspect. But it's also, you know, how do we do it externally? Then it's extremely complex, right? Because we cannot do it alone. This is not for one company to fix. I was talking with a friend of mine 2 weeks ago. I'm on this summer mood, trying to lose weight now. And I said, I've been training for 5 weeks and I'm not losing any weight. He looked at me and said, you didn't put all this weight in 1 month, right? And I didn't have to answer anything. So this reminds me in a way, right? Look, how did we get it to this point, right? So it's going to take a big effort. It's going to take many people that take leadership and stands up and inspire others, and we come together on the table and fix this. So it's going to be a journey, right? And I think the internal as well, you can look at this in 2 ways, right? What innovation are we going to apply into our organization so we become circular? I think is the wrong starting point, right? I think the right is, what is our impact today? What do we do in our operations, right? Before we start looking at great innovations or things like that. One step today is one step forward, right? And trying to make it perfect is not going to work. It makes us paralyzed. So I think define this very first step and apply love and leadership would be my best recipe. Yeah.
So I want to get in the very short time we have here to the consumer piece of this. And how much does the consumer, the buyer of a Billy bookcase or a lined tank top care about this? And how are you talking to the markets about this? Javi, start with you.
this is, we try to do it through services. And as I said, in our strategy, there is a big block that talks about inspiration. How can we inspire people to live more sustainable, right? And we have many products that will help and helps to do that. But it's true that we launched the buy, back, and resell program, I think it was now 14, 16 months ago, and it's been a massive success, right? Where we actually commit to buy back IKEA products and then put them back, repair or resell or recycle if it is the end of life. This is fantastic, but when we try to put it in every of our units, we actually found some barriers, which is that was considered in some municipalities like it was a palm shop service. So we needed to work to actually say, no, but this is the same that is happening everywhere with secondhand and so on, so we can do it, right? So it's not only consumers, which I think we try to inspire and do it through services and products, but then it's also on the table question, right? We need everyone. We need consumers, private sector, and public sector.
Yeah. Esther, how much does the Lululemon consumer care about circularity, sustainability in general?
Yeah, I think before as I say that, I just want to double down on what Javi said as well around you just need all of those sectors. Like from a consumer perspective with Lululemon, from a guest perspective, they tell us this matters, and they have an expectation that we do our part and enable choices so that they can choose in a way that aligns with their values, and that matters to us. And when we see, for example, deeper levels of engagement with like new, with certain guests who have been with Lululemon for a long time around trade-in, which is actually a really interesting finding. And then with resale, there's a connection to another type of guest. So I think what's important for us is that we make it easy and that we educate sort of at every point that's possible. But the thing I just really want to bring it back to as we're thinking about circularity and driving net new materials, sort of through what comes back from consumers and from our guests, is this idea that they are so important because in their closets and in their homes, and what is waste to them is actually a resource into what is needed in order to get to this circular ecosystem. So I think we have a lot of work to do to make it easy, inspiring, and impactful to be able to close the loop around that.
So I have so many questions, and we didn't even get into the take back and for both programs that both of your companies have. And the clock over here on the floor is quietly screaming at me. But I want to ask you to, in a minute or less, each of you, what's one lesson that you want to impart on this community that you've learned that you think might be helpful to others who are following in your footsteps? Javi?
No, I think really make it who you are. I think that's one of my biggest learnings, right? Not a task, not what you do. Put it into your core, in the DNA, and one step, even if it is not perfect, is one step forward, right? That would be
great.
My summary.
Esther?
Progress over perfection. Definitely that. And having a vision, being able to imagine what the future could be, and then a number of different pathways could lead to success. So our goal really unites us in the effort that we're making and how we're looking to make progress.
Yeah, lots of pathways, lots of ways to get there. We're all sharing the same goal, but thank you for showing us the way and setting an example of what's possible. Please join me in thanking Esther and Javi.
Thank you.